Now a few items from our Freedom File. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel is giddy about his city hosting the NATO and the G8 summits later this year, but it may not be for the reasons you think. While Chicago's City Hall expects the two summits to be a boon for tourism and for the stature of the city, Mayor Emanuel is also using the summit as cover to impose permanent restrictions on Chicago residents' right to protest against the government. In December, Mayor Emanuel submitted protest restrictions promising they would be, quote, temporary and were appropriate for the summits. But now the mayor's office admits the restrictions will be permanent. Emanuel's proposals would limit the hours for legal demonstrations, add new requirements for permission to demonstrate, and reinstate George W. Bush's infamous free speech zones. Hey, Mr. Mayor, the whole country is a free speech zone. Just read the First Amendment. The police state appears to be live and well in Rambo's Chicago. It's a case of take the money and run. Victor Ramos Guzman and his brother-in-law were stopped on I-95 in Virginia in November. Police allege Mr. Guzman was traveling 86 miles an hour in a 70-mile-an-hour zone, but he was not issued a speeding ticket. Instead, $28,500 in cash the men had in a box in their car was seized. Police claim the men were acting suspiciously because they each disclaimed ownership of the money and provided inconsistent and contradictory statements about the money. According to Mr. Guzman, the money indeed was not theirs. It belonged to their church, and they were taking it to Atlanta to buy real estate for the church. So let's review. Mr. Guzman is a lawful resident of the United States, was speeding but was not issued a ticket for speeding, yet the police stole the money which was entrusted to him. And this is a legal practice in Virginia. The police state appears alive and well in Virginia, too. Defenders of police state call stories like the last one isolated incidents. That shouldn't be used to draw broader conclusions. Well, here are more than 500 isolated incidents out of Denver, which is facing a federal civil rights lawsuit over the more than 500 people who were mistakenly arrested in the last 7 years. Among the more egregious examples, the Denver Post notes a black man who spent 9 days in jail based on an arrest warrant for a white man. An 18-year-old arrested for suspicion of being a 50-year-old. And a white man arrested on suspicion of being an American Indian who was a foot taller and 100 pounds heavier. That man wasn't released until a month later, when the victim alerted the police that they had the wrong suspect. When you make a mistake, you go to jail. When the police make a mistake, you still go to jail. If anything can swing